Some bullshit hit my desk today that had me feeling like J. Jonah Jameson.
Criminal, that's who he is.
Except my Spider-Man arch nemesis is actually just Valorant itself. But today, I guess we're here to talk about the quote-unquote K-popification of Valorant, and more specifically, of VCT and its players. Now, I saw another video about this from the homie Chillout Esports. He actually does make good videos, but there are some things he is getting wrong. The first thing being, this is nowhere close to being a new topic, and a ton of people on Twitter think it's some kind of new thing. No, people have been seeing this coming for over a year now.
There has been a K-popification of Valorant Esports, hasn't there, chat?
It just happens to be that there was a big ass tweet from some guy named Zeke, and that caused a massive uproar and a lot of people talking about it. So today we're going to get into two things. The first one being, what exactly are they talking about? And the second thing being, if it's affecting anything, and if it is affecting it, is it affecting it in a negative way? So first of all, what is K-popification? It's simply the idea that fans from anything other than K-pop act like K-pop fans. This time it happens to be Valorant. And of course, the replacement for the K-pop idols would be the VCT players. Now, I think one of the most obvious examples of this are probably the fan cams. Now, in all honesty, these fan cam edits are completely harmless. I mean, this has been going on forever. Also, this is the direct counterpart to those cringy Alpha Chad skull edits that y'all make. Now, obviously, there is a very big difference between these, because usually the skull edits are focused on the gameplay, while the fan cams are focused on the player themselves. Now, I knew that this obviously could not be the reason for such an uproar across all these platforms. Valorant players, y'all are soft, but y'all aren't that soft where little edits and fan cams get y'all hot. So what I did was take a quick dive onto the world's largest Valorant cesspool, being a VLR.gg. This tweet starts making way more sense when you start seeing these forum posts. The first one reading, "The K-popification of VCT is weird," and then it links to a post made 6 months ago, which reads pretty much the same exact thing as the title of the forum. But what really matters here is the top reply, explaining how some parts of it is actually cute, but then some weirdos will come along and just ruin the entire thing. But heading back to the VLR forums, I saw another post from the last week, which is titled VCT K-popification, which is obviously just a reference to that tweet, in which he first says he needs to start a conversation about how most of the people attending the VCT event are 16-year-old e-girls and K-pop style fangirls who are just simping for the players. And the first reply to that being, "This thread is pretty much useless and you're seeking attention." So we can sit here and we can start to realize one thing. There are a lot of people who straight up just hate the idea of fans that actively interact. Like, it truly seems like they just want you to sit there, watch the games, and not talk about anything, don't make any edits, do nothing. You just sit there, watch the games, and that's it. That's the extent. That's all they want you to do. But let's move forward, because we got to dig just a little bit deeper before we can tie all of this together. Now, honestly, this next tweet is, it was something else. I saw this one personally come across my timeline, and I didn't like it, but you know what I did? I just kept scrolling, bro. It was just this picture of Zelsis, and yeah, I mean, yeah. I can't lie, bro. At first I was like, is this fetish art? Like, what am I looking at? So I didn't really stick around too long to really find out. But then I saw it get referenced a couple times in these posts, and I ain't gonna lie, I have been seeing it on Twitter. But even Zelsis and the official Sentinels account is in the replies just having fun. So I'm like, okay, whatever, bro. Maybe it's not that deep, I guess. But you have to understand one thing. Whether or not you just think this is some funny thing, there are going to be people who see this at its face value and straight up just hate it, hate you, and then they're just gonna become part of those like-minded individuals that already are like on this hate train for the quote-unquote K-popification. Now, we have finally made it to the last post that I need to show y'all to explain all of this. Now, one thing I found was a link to this one girl's Twitter who has been getting hate through multiple forums and even on some other platforms, all mainly due to this one video.
Can you sign on your card?
Sign here?
Yeah. This one is the for you.
For me?
Yeah, for
Appreciate
me.
it.
For you.
Appreciate it.
Now, honestly, the video itself is not that bad, but when you combine the video with the caption and then with the account itself being just a massive fan account, you really start to get the idea of what people are really hating on. It isn't the fan cams, it isn't the basic fangirling or fanboying. I be seeing y'all on there too. It's really about the idolization of these VCT players, but more importantly, the parasocial relationships. Imagine VCTs like K-pop culture as a bonfire, basic fangirling and like fan cams and stuff like that. That's just like throwing sticks into the fire. It keeps the fire going just a little bit longer, you know, it's a little bit of help. But then it's like the stan accounts and things like that. They're just throwing in gas cans. It's pretty much just a vocal minority. For example, I use myself. I feel like I'm just the most average possible esports watcher. Like most people, if there's like a Sentinels match, I'll watch it, or I'll watch like a watch party. I'll throw in a couple tweets, bro. They'll get 2 likes, and then that's it. That's all I do. But those fans, those ones that take it the extra mile, they're more likely to be seen than me. Now, the effects of this actually get pretty interesting, because at the moment, the current outcome has actually been more positive than anything, because these parasocial fans are the ones showing up to venues. They're the ones buying the merch. And on top of that, they're the ones that are going to make these players like feel loved, if anything. Like, we know they're seeing the edits, they're seeing the fan cams. We definitely know this 100%, because it's either in their Twitter replies or it's viral on TikTok. But take even the official Sentinels account, and let's take someone like Boaster, for example. These two, they play into it on purpose. Like when Boaster is doing those K-pop dance walkouts, obviously, yeah, he just likes K-pop, but he also knows like he's about to farm edits and people are gonna love it. But that's just me saying the overall current outcome is positive. It's almost a complete spectrum, because there's neutral, and then there's bad, and then there's even worse. For example of neutral, I'll throw up this one tweet from this guy saying, "Are those guys from EDG actually dating?" I was like, are you serious right now? They gotta be blowing this out of proportion. Then they clarified that it's just a real question because they don't know anything about VCT. They just have friends that do. But then I see the other replies and I'm just like, come on, bro. Y'all are actually pushing it. And then it just gets a little bit worse. I don't know. Like, it's kind of debatable. They're making like this yaoi art and I'm like, I don't know. Like, these are still real humans at the end of the day, bro. But then it comes down to the worst of the worst. We got the AO3 400-page fanfics. Now, the one thing I respect about these the most is that they really usually don't bother anybody. Like, it's so out in its own corner of the internet that it pretty much doesn't really bother anybody else. But I'm just gonna keep it a buck. You have to understand people are probably still gonna see it, and at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, this is insane work to me. But of course, this doesn't directly affect me whatsoever, so I'm simply just gonna move on with my life and not go to these VLRGG forums and post about how I'm mad. Because at the end of the day, I expect players and I expect franchise teams to actually play into this a lot more. It's going to bring them money and it's going to bring them publicity. 2 things they need, especially in Valorant circuit, because we know what happened to half the other teams that made franchising. Also, it is no secret that these players don't make that much from VCT alone, so to have people that want to support them so much even outside of playing the game, it's actually probably a good thing. So just to reiterate, what people are really hating is not just the simple fact of like K-pop culture coming into Valorant's like VCT culture. It's mainly just the very extreme examples of it. But I mean, doesn't that go for most things? Like, is it really worth causing this much of an uproar about? Probably not. But I do think it is worth shedding light on some of these like very extreme cases. But a lot of these kids are just crying that the venues and the fans that they see a lot, they just don't fit the description of a quote-unquote real fan in their head. These people, they just don't want to sit there overanalyze the entire VCT match, and they have 3,000 hours in Valorant too. They're radiant. They think they can be pro. Like, nah, bro. The only community I know to actively avoid these things is Counter-Strike. And that's because they actively bully people. And that's not a good thing. That Giga Chat Alpha community, it's lame, by the way. And I know this because I was in it before Valorant ever even existed. Before it was even Project A, I was in it. I prefer Valorant's much more inclusive and inviting community, like, by far. Now, if I'm being honest, I do think it could go way too far. But until that happens, I really don't have too much else to say. Peace.